On the 9th of August 2013, Brandon Lawson, aged 26, left his house in San Angelo, Texas after an argument with his fiancée, Ladessa Lofton. His intention was to make a 3-hour drive to Crowley, Texas, where his father lived. By all accounts, he left his residence at 11:54 p.m. in a silver Ford S150. Approximately 35 minutes later, he called his brother Kyle and told him he had run out of gas on US Route 277 between San Angelo and the town of Bronte. During this call, he informed his brother that, and I quote, "3 are chasing me out of town." He then went on to clarify this apparent predicament by adding, quote, "the Mexicans in the neighbourhood," unquote. As Brandon was a recovering methamphetamine user, Kyle asked him if he was hallucinating, something Brandon denied. Worried for his brother, Kyle hopped in his vehicle with his wife and 4-year-old child and drove to Brandon's house to pick up a gas can. He then made his way to the location on Route 277. On arrival at the scene, he came across Brandon's empty vehicle. The brothers were talking on the phone when a local officer from the sheriff's department pulled up behind Brandon's truck. With the arrival of the officer, Brandon said the following, "One time run." His brother said this was an instruction to hightail it out of there, something Kyle quite wisely refused to do. The call was then ended by Brandon. One thing this indicates is that Brandon was close enough to his brother to witness the interchange with law enforcement. It's believed he was hiding because there was a warrant out for his arrest. An aspect of the case that makes this conversation strange is the fact that Brandon had called the police at 12:50 a.m. seeking help. This was before Kyle had arrived. Here is that call. It will be played twice. The first time it's played as recorded by the police dispatcher's office. The second time you hear the call, it's been slowed down.
911 emergency.
Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. We're just pushing guys over. Right here going towards Javelin on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. Got chasing to the woods. Please hurry.
Okay, now run that by me.
We're not talking to him. I actually ran into him.
Ah, you ran into him. Okay.
That's the first guy.
Do you need an ambulance?
Yeah, no, I need the cops.
Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello? 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 Emergency.
Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. We're just pushing guys over. Right here going towards Javelin on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. Got chasing to the woods. Please hurry.
Okay, now run that by me.
We're not talking to him. I actually ran into him.
Ah, you ran into him. Okay.
That's the first guy.
Do you need an ambulance?
Yeah, no, I need the cops.
Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello?
Brandon does not respond. A background noise gets louder and louder, as if it's getting closer and closer to the phone. This transcript was transcribed by the Missing Persons of America organisation. It's crystal clear that he is in an agitated state of fear and requires urgent assistance. Attempts at deciphering what he is saying and what it means have brought some details to the fore, though a lot of confusion still resides. What we do know is he is in a field, he wants the police quickly, and there appears to be a number of people involved in the situation. It's also obvious that he is breathing heavily. possibly because he has been running, or he is simply stressed. What is bizarre when we look at the timeline of events is that this call took place at 12:50 am. His call to his brother takes place at 1:10 am, and he is obviously close enough to see that an officer is present. Why has he gone from frantically seeking police assistance to hiding from them? At 1:18, Audrey, Kyle's girlfriend, texted Brandon telling him that the police were still at his truck. 1 minute later, Brandon calls her and says he is 10 minutes up the road, north of his truck. He states that he is bleeding. This was the last time anyone talked with Brandon. His phone was shut off, or the battery died on it at 3 am. Here is Kyle Lawson's account of the events of that night.
When I arrived at their house, my brother Brennan was already gone, so I asked Ladessa what was going on, and she said he was tripping and flipping out. On my way there, my brother calls me, says that Ladessa had some Mexicans from the neighborhood chasing him out of town. He told me that the state trooper had pulled one of them over, but there were still two chasing him. He hung up on me, then calls me back and tells me that he is about to run out of gas. He needed me to bring him some gas, so I told him, okay, that I had to go back by his house to pick up a gas can and come straight to him. So I went to his house, I got the gas can, and I headed that way. Well, Brandon kept calling me, and he would say a few words and hang up. The first time he asked where I was and to hurry up, I told him that I was on the way, as fast as I could. Then he called back, and Audrey answered, and he said, where are y'all? I'm bleeding, Audrey, hurry up and get here. And he hung up. Then he calls me again and says, where are you at? I said, I'm pulling up right now. He hung up again. So when I pulled up to his truck, I make a U-turn and park on the opposite side of the road. I get out, walk over to his truck, and he calls. I ask him, where are you, bro? He said, I'm right here where I said. At that time, there was a vehicle approaching, and he says to me, one time, run. I told him, I'm not going to run. I've done nothing wrong. And he said, where is your pride, mother? And hung up on me.
Three main theories are cited for the disappearance of Brandon. All three have their flaws. The first and most prominent theory is that he was murdered. During his phone call to the police dispatcher's office, Brandon says he is not alone. Certain phrases stand out and require some sort of explanation. He says that he, and I quote, pushed some guys over. Not being familiar with Texas lingo, I can only guess what he means. Does he mean he pushed someone off the road, either intentionally or unintentionally? Is this why someone may have tried to hunt him down? Another possible explanation is that he got into an altercation and physically pushed more than one person over. Lastly, does it mean that he got on the wrong side of someone in the days, weeks or months before his disappearance? Could it possibly be the Mexicans that he mentioned to his brother? Or someone else that he had rubbed up the wrong way? Did he come across them that night while on his way to his father's house? Clearly he's distressed and seeks the help of police rather than an ambulance. While asking for help, we might hear the voice of another person with him.
No, I need the call. No, I need the call.
As we've mentioned, he stated to Kyle that two Mexicans were chasing him, while one other had been pulled over by state troopers. Everything about this seems wrong. None of it makes sense. Especially when we consider that this call happened 20 minutes before he was talking to his brother at 1:10 am. In this call, he's telling him to run from police whom he can clearly see, but why, when he wanted them desperately during his 911 call? We also know that Kyle saw nobody around when he reached Brandon's truck. There was no sign that anyone other than Brandon had been there. A truck driver who's seen his truck in the middle of the road at 12:58 am doesn't mention anyone else either. Was this all a case of someone who is suffering from a drug-induced paranoia which is producing hallucinations? For me, this is the only reason I have for the fluctuation between wanting police aid and then seeking to evade them at a later stage. It all appears to be somebody who is incoherent and disengaged from reality. This leads us to the second theory. He was suffering from methamphetamine impairment. Kyle said he had been using that day, and that Ladessa, Brandon's fiancée, had said he was, and I quote, flipping out and tripping. Two words we could definitely use if we are to understand his 911 call to be nothing more than a drug-induced hallucination. The theory that he was simply high, paranoid, and had an accident seems to us to be as strong a possibility as the idea that he came across the wrong people. However, it does sound as though someone says yes when the dispatcher asks if they need an ambulance. It's all bizarre, but maybe he's out there and the area has not been searched adequately. It has been said that local landowners have been apprehensive about letting people onto their land to search for remains or personal belongings. This is a far-out possibility, but it's worth mentioning. Did he stop in the middle of what is essentially scrubland to score meth? Did this go wrong? Was he running from them? Did they catch up with him and then convince him at a later point to stay quiet, or they would all be done for possession of a controlled substance? Is this why he changed his tune over a period of 20 minutes? If we are to entertain this possibility, we'd have to ask, what were they doing in the middle of nowhere selling drugs? It would be more understandable if they were selling large amounts, but they weren't. The last theory is the one that law enforcement appear to hold. That is, that Brandon up and left and is out there somewhere living his life. This theory is based around an arrest warrant which was out for Brandon. Family have said it wasn't serious and it was under control, but maybe he feared failing a drug test which may put him back behind bars. His family are adamant that this is not a sound theory. They say that though he had his problems, he loved his children and could never leave for this long without contacting them. If this description of Brandon is accurate, the only other possibility is that he went somewhere else and died at a later stage in another location. What do you think happened to Brandon Lawson? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, please do make sure to like, comment, share and subscribe to Mystery Scope. As always, until the next time, take care.